Yo, what's up guys? Let's look at some of these inter-server defense because these are some really interesting inter-server defenses. So most of the time I just Feng Yang all of that kind of stuff. Like, you know me, everything that I clear is already like Feng Yang and it's just straight up auto. Like even these straight up auto food, nothing too difficult about it. However, there's always a few that I don't really like to Feng Yang. For example, these. Like they're definitely doable because this team is lacking damage and it doesn't have any sustain. So it's not that hard, but you definitely want to bruise this. Well, I could argue that I could still bruise it with this, but preferably you don't want to bruise it with a Leo because it's just a little bit more difficult. Still 7 victories though, so I definitely do think people are Leoing in it. This one is a little bit tricky on the side of a Leo as well, but I could argue that this one I can clear with this, and I will actually clear that with that later on. This one, however, is pretty interesting because this is a 5 defense victory team right now without any LDs, with just normal units. But this is actually, I would say, pretty strong because you do get the damage from you and damage from you, which is a good bit of damage. However, still very clearable as well, so we'll do that in a second too. Definitely not the most interesting one out there. 8 wins on this one, even better than the previous team, I would say. So we had a Tianlang sitting over here, but a Lamila sitting on this one does make it feel a little bit stronger because this is where you get a lot more damage from your whole team rather than a Tianlang that doesn't do too much damage, just more anti-cleave. Then next one we have, this one is decently strong, but win rate apparently is a little bit lower, so it's probably weaker ruined. This one over here, fairly interesting style as well, that if you do get your pushback into this and this is kind of like a Lucian. It's a weaker Lucian, to be honest, but it is not of an elemental disadvantage thing. But then this thing, what the freak is even this? That's pretty nasty. Is this like the strongest defense out there? Well, the big issue is it doesn't have a proper AoE strip, and that is also its weakness right there. But let's say that this was a Laura rather than a Songsheng Lao, because the Songsheng Lao is kind of redundant. I would say that that is arguably the strongest defense you can make throughout all defenses in Summoners War right now. Just replacing this by a Lauren, and then I have no clue how you would hit that. Let me know in the comments how you would hit that. So those are the hits that I've left, and then this one, which is kind of just a defense check, but we can do this a few different ways as well. So let's just start off first of all by the one that I was saying, like, okay, you can actually still clear this relatively decent with my normal Fang team, and then we're gonna go through all of the teams that are a little bit more tricky. So always when you can hit Tritons like that, definitely do hit the Tritons like that. In this case, Triton is definitely a bit more upgraded right now because Triton does have the potential for pushing back 50%, which is definitely a bit stronger than it used to be. Let's push this back. Let's just clap this. Feng Yang is still stupidly strong in all of this. You might go for an S2 right now. Does go for the S2, but he doesn't have that much damage output in the first place. So not really fearing his output. I should have maybe given a defense buff to you, but these hits are super simple. If you don't have a Seimei is absolutely the cheat that makes things a lot easier, but a Veramos or a Tetra is just as good. It is the specific use case where a Veramos is better or a Tetra is better, but a Seimei is always good, so therefore I don't have to switch if I use Seimei. So that's kind of the reason I tend to use Seimei always. But if you use Veramos and Tetra, it's depending on the use case which one of the two is best in slot. So that's kind of back and forth. Where do you want to cleanse more on getting more bar, or do you rather just want to lower the turns of the debuffs, or do you need single target heal? Do you need AoE heal? That's kind of just the trade-off that you have to make. So in the case of Gojos, in most cases, you want to go Tetris. In the case of Neftis and a lot of AoE debuffs, you probably want to go Veramos. That's the main way to go between both of them. So that is a fairly simple clear on this one without too much issues. But now we're going to go into more dangerous territory. We're going to go into this one. So how do we want to clear this? I could make the argument for same team would still work, but I would also say it is slightly dangerous. So in this case, I definitely want to be adding in a Tetra, and I think a Tetra would do a lot better against this than even a Seimei in this particular specific case, because heal blocks are one of those things that a Seimei really doesn't like to handle, and a Tetra kind of handles that pretty decently by just lowering the cooldown on it in the first place. So let's actually give that a good bit of HP, because that's the only thing we do actually need on all of this. HP, 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 give me more HP, HP, and then we go for some Nemesis on the sides. I don't even need to go for speed in those at all, but just for the sake of it, we add some speed. And then, of course, we're going to add in some recovery on the 3er. And then on the other side, let's in this case go damage minus water. If you want to do this properly and really sophisticated, I would recommend put all of them damage minus water. But I'm going to be slightly lazy on this one. It just so happens to be that way. In this case, I want to kill the Lamila first, I think, because that one is the one that hurts the most, I assume. I'm not sure. So yeah, you can already see that's a good bit of damage. And that is damage that's... yeah. That is definitely a good bit of damage right there. So if Lamila went for proc right there, could have been very dangerous. So I would definitely claim this to be one of the strongest, if not the strongest, non-LD team out there. You can clear it with this as I'm showcasing it right now. But if both of them would have started proccing, I could have been in a pretty bad spot, in all honesty. So that's one of those things that you definitely have to keep in mind. Also for clearing this, since I do have Destroy, it's always best to put the Destroy to the target. That also does reduce damage when being destroyed. But yeah, you can see the amount of damage that an Amber can do, especially with the Lamila on the debuffs. It is dangerous. It is absolutely dangerous. So definitely something you have to keep in mind to just slow clear it if you want to. You could try to, of course, outspeed this in your typical kind of arena offense kind of way, because this is definitely not an arena offense kind of style. I could have like outsped it with the Grogan and the Neftis and the Kabila and that kind of stuff. But for inter-server, I prefer not to take my risk and actually make sure that I win my matches, because currently still sitting like rank, I think like 3-4-ish on inter-server, like globally kind of thing, whatever. And yeah, it just gives you more reward, so why not? So this still relatively easy hit and not that big a deal. We're getting into more Gojo problems in just a second, because this is the last one, no Gojo. But definitely still wanted to showcase like, okay, what does it look like for, I would argue, best defense out there right now for normal elementals, because Triton pushback is nasty. Then if the Lamila and Amber start proccing on a brand AoE, that could be a lot of damage. You could easily lose a unit right there. So that's always a dangerous thing. So moving on next, we have this thing. Same thing with a Gojo. So same thing with the Gojo. Does kind of make it where you probably don't really want to go for the Leo out there. You could still go for Leo, but in that case, you would want to bring a Tetra on a bit of a faster set. So that is exactly that we're going to do over here. We're going to bring you to a more of a speedy set. And then we're still going to do the same. So this, yep, just about this kind of speed that you're in the next tick. And then minus water is still fine. So you are the main cleanser for you to get the Oblivion off. That is the main idea that we're aiming for. This team is going to be less on damage output than the previous team. It is good that it's full on will, so I cannot mess up the turn order on anything. Do we get that? Yep, we do get that. Did land the Oblivion over there. Started off with an S3. That's a little bit weaker right there. But in this case, okay, we do have the damage on that. Do have the damage on that. We do have the damage from you kicking in. That's good. That's good. We have the first hit not kicking in over there. So this is definitely where you see it gets a bit more tricky. It definitely gets a bit more tricky. Ooh, we get a very good proc over here. That's actually one way. Because of that proc, we also have that. Otherwise, we could have still given the shield over there. We could have given the healing over there. So definitely where it does get a bit tricky to hit it like this. But I think that this, for free-to-play options, is definitely a super strong team. Just to make sure that your mainly your Tetra is fast enough that the moment that you get the Leo passive off the battlefield, that the other units can still rock in. I could argue for fighting Gojos that you want to do the same on your, what's it called? Alaya. In your Alaya, also if you make it the tick of like the 286, it's gonna be a lot safer than trying to bruiser it without that, because you're gonna be super slow the moment that the Oblivion does actually land. And even with 100 res, Gojos in these positions are always going to be max accuracy. Like if your Gojo is not max accuracy, you're inting. That's just the main idea behind it. However, fighting this same style, the moment that there is more pushbacks in the form of a light hacker, more stunts in the form of a Zhongxiang Lao, more attack bar gain, or like attack bar gain decreases on the side of a Tian Lang. How do we hit that? Well, we're gonna get to that in just a second. I think this is hit number 3 or 4. We had to do like 7 or 8 in total, so we'll get there, we'll get there. Can we clap this? Nope, not as of yet. I think that the sequence of S1 into S1, into S1, into S1, into this hit over there, plus the dots will be sophisticated. Okay. Moving on to the next. Next will be this one. Similar style though. This is just straight up similar style. It can be a little bit more dangerous by the Byunchul doing a good bit of damage. Once again, good that all of these 3 are willed, otherwise turn order will be messed up by me. But I think this guy is kind of lacking damage or accuracy, otherwise his win rate should have been a little bit higher. So okay, does get all of that. That's also kind of a thing. Byunchul will get off the hits when the value on it is not just that high. That's kind of the thing, like, the immediate damage follow-up does actually come from Vanessa moving right after. In this case, or right in front, and then you have defense break, and then Byunchul is supposed to do a lot of damage. But it's actually kind of hard to rune a Gojo where your Gojo is not dead in one hit. Your Gojo does do a good amount of damage, and your Gojo is max accuracy. So runing up the Gojos for these teams is actually not that easy. But once again, relatively simple clear on all of these scenarios. Shenanigans over here, and then we just go on to the next. Well, let's just, like, well, we first have to do a little bit of bruising over here. Feng Yang is just so broken for all of this. Like, that's a thing that has never changed. Feng Yang is absolutely horrendously broken for this, and I don't think Feng Yang will ever go away of not being horrendously broken. But since a lot of people always ask me, it's like, yeah, but you're using the same E. Well, or the Akroma. I actually tend to use a lot of Akroma into these kind of teams as well. Chroma's pretty good because Chroma is one of the few units that doesn't give a shit about Gojo. And then you start silencing the Gojo in the second rotation, and then Gojo's just not going to do anything. So if I want to hit this even safer, I put a Chroma on Destroy on the slot of Feng Yang. It's going to be a lot slower, but there's absolutely no way they will ever kill me because I start silencing the Gojo every time, and then they just have absolutely 0 damage output, and now you can just go for the auto. It's too bad that you cannot say Feng Yang only use S1 when you auto it. That would actually be fairly nice. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm still in China. Do you guys know the Japanese meme of, like, the Japanese workers getting, like, super messed up, drunk after work and that kind of stuff? I tried that exact drink. It's 9% on the alcohol, and it's fairly understandable how you can get messed up on this stuff, because it tastes like lemonade. It is way too good. But just sidetracking. Either, man, that's it. You can drink this all night and be like, I just drank lemonade, and then you'll be like, I just drank lemonade, or something like that. That's me for the last few days, however. Besides the point, moving on to the next. This team, however, looks a little bit more tricky. But is it actually that tricky? That is going to be the big question. Because what we are going to do is the following. We're going to put in you. We're going to be putting in a Megumi. Wait, right. Megumi. Yep. We're going to be putting in a Ayunu. And we're going to be putting in, let's say, Perna. So, Perna in there. So then, for me, the easiest thing to do is just copy whatever is in RTA, because that is a pretty good build in general. But we have to use the right Ryu. I have 2 Ryus. The other Ryu is probably over here, and that's the one I use for RTA, ain't it? This one I'll load. Yep, surely is. Wait, why is that? Oh, wait. I don't use a damage Ryu at the moment anymore. Then I have to do the runes by heart. Do I still know the Ryu's strongest damage runes by heart? I think I do, but that's always kind of the question. I think it's this one with the 24. Yep. And then rage runes are relatively easy because it's the highest in this. It is probably the crit rate or the crit damage over there. I think with this much crit rate, it's probably the crit damage over there. This one is going to be whatever is on EU. And this one is going to be the highest. Too bad on this. This one over there. And then we have to check if it's not actually this one. Yep, it is this one. that one over here. So this is going to do so much damage that whole team of him is nearly dead already before it even moves. Best you can do on artifacts on this style is combination of additional damage by attack and attack increasing effect. So in this case, something along this line will actually do. And that's nearly going to kill this unit already. Then we have the backup plan for you that if they AoE, you would start moving and you would start being annoying. Which is going to be ruined just like this. And then we also have the Ayunu, which is not ruined right now. We're just gonna put on some damage minus or some stuff. I don't know. Well, I think damage 2 is probably strongest on you, actually. Crit damage 2. This thing will be sophisticated. Then we just want to have some rage with a vampire, or not vampire rage. We want to have... Well, that would be nice. Vampire rage doesn't exist. We want to have these. To be honest, I don't really know this build by heart, but we're just gonna go in for some grades and some shenanigans and some bit of everything. Yep, that works. And then Perna's just going to be any kind of bruiser setup that I have. Is this good? Yes, but we're gonna be fixing off your crit rate by a little bit more. And you already have pretty high crit rate on that. You don't have any crit rate on this. 21. Would be nice if it's maxed out on the crit rate. I don't care that much about how much speed you're at. These are nice, these are nice. These are actually pretty solid rules though. These are pretty solid ones. This one, yeah, both of them actually do. Okay, let's go for this. It's not really on the right tick or anything. It's actually 9 speed below a tick, but with this, it's 4 speed below a tick. Anyhow, didn't want to waste too much time for reruning, but just kind of having you the idea of what you want to be aiming for. So in this case, would that be too much of a boost? Nope, that's totally fine. I am going to be stunning you, because without setup, you're not going to do any damage. And then we're going to go for an S2, and we're going to clap that unit right away. So that's just one of those things, like if you're fighting one of those units, and also the comeback of you made you give a full bar. Like there's a lot of those kind of things going on. You could be in an ish position where the Smath just reset everything, and then it could be kind of bad for you, but in most cases doesn't really happen in that much in that case. So team like this takes you a little bit of time of reruning, but it's definitely fairly strong. And there was another team that also wanted to get hit like this. Yep, this is definitely one of those teams. Is a little bit more tricky by the value of anti-crit. So if we do get this, okay, we do get that in. Let's go for this hit over there. Okay, we go for this. Is enough damage. You could have said that it would have been actually fairly tricky to use this one and that one. Yeah, that's actually kind of true because of the Grogan value. And I forgot about the Grogan for a second, but my Moor was strong enough. Maybe because of the Grogan value, you want to just go like these two plus super tanky units and then just make your way work from there. 2 more hits to go. So what are the 2 final hits? We have this super strong thing over here, and we have this thing over here. Well, to be honest on this one, I could still make the same argument of the team that we were using before, with just simply the Tetra in there, and let's do exactly that. So where was the Tetra located? That was it, this Tetra. It was actually this Tetra. So Tetra just so good against those Gojos as well, but against the next one, I definitely don't want to be trying out that same luck. In this case, also if, what's it called? The moment that you land your stuff, we will not be facing off any attack bar gain for you in the first place. Okay, that's starting to do a good bit of damage. There is one positive part, however, and that one positive part is I can lose Feng Yang and still easily win this. Like, that's absolutely a case that can happen over here. And I think we're getting relatively close to actually happening, which I'm not too happy about. I think I want to take you out for some damage. Yeah, that's, ladies and gentlemen, why you use Tetra. 10k healing per hit. That is absolutely absurd. But then we're back into skill for you already, which is not too great. Okay, let's hit this. This team is actually rocking in a little bit more damage. I do want to give this to you for now, because I knew that you were going to death break that. Let's go for some healing. It's a little bit on the tricky value. But we're good to go. I think we're good to go. Moment we clear out Tion Lang first. Maybe I should have killed Gojo first, but in the end, this team doesn't have any form of sustain, so that definitely does help out a little bit over there. You could also go for units that you cannot really stun by passives, but then again, Gojo issues. In this team, a Chroma would have been 1,000 times stronger. Ooh, that's also high damage Gojo. I kind of like the idea of high damage Gojos, because that gives you some more value that if things were to start proccing massively amounts of times, that things would actually start to die as well, which would have been kind of the case. Do you have S3 available? Well, doesn't matter because your unit is dead. So yeah, most of the time, if you make these kind of teams, you want to put them decently on damage. So the bruiser teams that you're expecting to be bruised by are not going to win. That's the main thing you're trying to do. But in the case where you don't have the counter to that, you die by bruiser. But I think in most cases, especially in higher ranks of inter-server, people tend to bruiser all the way, right? There's not too much where... Sure, there's some people still like cleaving all of their hits and calling it a day with like 17 wins. But I would say in general sense, in high ranks, people do kind of try hard. And it does work better if you're anti-bruiser rather than anti-cleave. Like, just being anti-cleave most of the time is not gonna give you that many successes. I've seen people get like 3, 4, maybe 5 successes at max, which might be more than some people get, but that is at max. Whereas a really good anti-bruiser, I've seen get like 9 wins, 10 wins. My current defense is setting at 10 wins. It's anti-bruiser. I would say that the last team that we have to hit over here, very, very anti-bruiser. So how the hell do we actually hit this? Well, it's actually relatively easy because there's no Laura. If there was a Laura over here, I could not have done the thing that I'm going to do in just a second. Which is going to be making a team based on this. We want to add in a 33 lead, but I feel like all of the 33 leads are kind of ass in this. Could we get away with just a 24 lead? You're never going to be Swift, so I can get away with a 24 lead. If there was a Laura on the other side, I could have definitely not gotten away with this. So we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to add in a Rigna. Wait, where are my Rignats? Or did I just misspell like I always tend to do on everything? Rigna. How do you write this? Oh, I only have series, so that makes sense, I guess. And then final hit is still going to be a Sonya. But for this, we have to do a little bit more reruning because I want to be full on Will, because this thing is most likely Swift. I would be fairly surprised if he's not full on Swift. So in that case, and the other things are definitely not going to be Swift. Like, I would be very surprised if they are Swift. So that's kind of the thing that we're dealing with. So let's actually give that a roll where we do add in some good runes over here, here. That one is fine. This one is fine-ish. You don't even have to go super high on speed on this, to be honest. So this would do over there. That's already fine. These speeds additionals are good. I want to go for some crit damage on the 4, which I already gave to the other one. So we're just going to go for a Swift on the 4, which is also fine. This one. Let's go for that one over there. This one over there. And then we're just going to add in the crit damages for here. Crit damage, and you don't really have any crit damage. Well, now we're just gonna go for the one with attack, I guess, which I also apparently don't really have. Either how. This, that one is fine, that one is fine. Yes, sir, and we definitely still want to go for speed increasing effect both sides, because things might potentially be pretty darn fast. Speed increasing attack both sides, it is. Other side, we have you, which definitely does need to be on a style where we go for a crit rate 4 as well. That's definitely also where we do lose a lot of attack. But sometimes, yeah, that's just, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? So we have this one over there, this one was saved for you over there, this one was saved for you over there. And then this one we can go for like a little bit of crit rate, crit damage. No, let's actually just go for this. And then we're going to fix the crit rate slash attack in EU. That's going to be the game plan. Let's do it the other way around. Then I probably have some kind of 12-ish. Do we have that? Okay. Wait, how much crit rate do I actually need? Okay, more than that. I prefer to have some HP and stuff going on. Oh, wait, you're way too high on the speed, by the way. Wait, what is this crazy-ass speed? We don't need that much speed. Okay, in that case, I do know the answer to this already. We take this rune, and then we're gonna go for this rune over here, and instead this rune. Nope, okay, we need a 17er. Can I get a 17er? I do think so on this, exactly. Minus a good bit of speed, but we're still tanky enough where I kind of like the vibes on it. And then for you, we're actually gonna go for a mixture of speed up and speed up and attack up. If we can find those, we want both, please. Thank you very much. This one over there, this one seems good over there. Why the hell is that life drain? Ah, that's the artifact that I used for what's it called? The Draken Warrior. Good old Draken Warrior. Then final bits is you, which we're definitely gonna be throwing on some shield sets. Because, well, that's the main thing that's kind of lacking. Plus, still, of course, will runes otherwise. We will be inting ourselves, and then we would be good to go. Might you say, this is way too much effort for me to rerun like that. Well, then enjoy your lose. that's all I can say to you in that case. Enjoy your lose if you're not properly preparing against a team like this. And that's what a lot of these people have been doing so far, enjoying their lose. So, yep, over here, that's all good, that's all good. These are all fine, these are all fine. We're gonna have you move into you, that's fine. Let's get it going. Okay, yep, expected you to be fast, but since we are on will, not an issue whatsoever, and we have that, I definitely want to take you out. That's more tanky than expected, but since I have the opportunity to do this right now, I will, or will I not? I will, and I'm gonna reset anyway, so... Tanky side on that Tianlang, definitely a fast Tianlang right there. But the moment that that is taken care of, I have immunity for days right now. He can't really do anything. So that's just the main idea behind this whole team. Let's just take you out, and let's just take you out because I can guarantee kill those. You, I most likely couldn't take out in one hit, but that's just one of those main things. However, if there was a lure on that position and it was just fast enough Gojo to follow up, I have no clue how to hit that properly. I would have probably done some weird shit with like a chroma and stuff. But I could see so much potential for him to mess me up. Because in the end, he does have immunity from that other unit. Which would have been really strong as well. So yeah, he's one piece away from an absolute Exodia. So let me know in the comments. How would you hit a light hacker plus a Tianlang plus a, what's it called? Gojo plus a Laura. Because in the end... Yes, you could say it doesn't have any sustain, but you will struggle taking turns. That's the main thing. Like, the amount of turns denial that they have with Tianlang pushbacks, this thing pushbacks, Laura stuns, Laura speed buffs, Laura slows, so you're slowed and you're stunned and they are speed buffed. And then they have pushbacks and they have the guaranteed land. I have no clue how to hit it, and this would definitely not do it, because if they lure us fast enough into the Gojo fast enough, you would need a Swift Gojo for that, however, so that's maybe a little bit of a weaker side of the team. There's no way to hit it. Like, you can't even... Like, would you go for some kind of Nem Trap Laura at that point? Like, trying to Nem Trap the Laura and take the turn from there? Is an option, but that sounds very difficult. Either way, guys, hope you did enjoy this video. Just a little bit of showcasing of the inter-server arena, not guild battles. Let's see what rank I am currently at. I'm not going to be summoning all of these. I'm going to be summoning all of these the moment I get back to in the Netherlands. And it will be around like 23rd or 24th of December. And I'll do like a bigger summon session at that moment. So let's see what rank am I currently rocking at. Back to rank 3, just overtaking this guy right here. But I think that in current team, I might be taking the rank 1 position because my defense successes are doing pretty well. And with that, you always get a little bit more points. So where are we at? Sitting over here. Yeah, we would definitely take the rank 1 position over here. Might you ask, say, what the hell is your defense? This the hell is my defense. So we got anti-cleaves to the max. But even if you want to Sonya, this kind of style, there's a double life on this, which makes it a little bit harder to Sonya. And all of those, of course, are high on damage, very speedy, and all of that kind of good stuff. Well, that's all for today. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. See you as always in the next one.